Today we're doing section 4.4 day 1, and we're discussing how to find the exact value of trig functions with given coordinates. So some formulas you're going to need for this section is going to be x squared plus y squared equals r squared, and that is deriving from the Pythagorean theorem that you learned in geometry. And then we're just going to do a quick recall of our 6 trig functions. So sine is y over r, cosine is x over r, tangent is y over x, and then cosecant is r over y, secant is r over x, and cotangent is x over y. So we're going to be moving off of the unit circle, so r is not going to be 1 today. So for our first example, they want you to find the exact value of the 6 trig functions. So you're given a coordinate, which means you know an x and a y, so we got to figure out what our r value is first. So I'm going to do the x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So I have a negative 3 squared plus a negative 5 squared equals r squared. So I have 9 plus 25 equals r squared, which will give us 34. So my r value is going to be the square root of 34. You obviously would check to see if that can break down. 34 will not break down, so that's going to stay. So now we get into our trig functions. So let me kind of just draw a little line so we have some space. So my sine value is going to be y over r, so negative 5 over root 34. Obviously we rationalize, so final answer will be negative 5 root 34 over 34. You should always check to see if that outside fraction would reduce. In this case, 5 over 34 will not reduce. Moving on to cosine, I have negative 3 over root 34 rationalized, and we get negative 3 root 34 over 34. And then lastly, tangent is y over x, so I have negative 5 over negative 3. I would expect you to cancel out those negatives and just say 5/3. So now we find the reciprocal of all of these. So cosecant, is just the reciprocal, or you could just say r over y, so root 34 over negative 5. It's fine if you want to put the negative in the bottom, or if you want to shoot the negative out to be in neutral territory, that's fine. So what I mean by neutral territory for secant, the answer, you could say negative root 34 over 3, and just put the negative in the middle. And then lastly, cotangent is going to be 3 over 5. So I hope that that's relatively easy compared to everything that we've done so far. So now moving on to one other topic, and this is going to be the signs of the trig functions. So obviously we know we have our quadrants 1, 2, 3, 4, and all trig functions are positive in quadrant 1. Sine, and let me back up. The reason all 6 trig functions are positive in quadrant 1 is because x, y, and r would all be positive. So my coordinate is a positive here. In quadrant 2, x is negative and y is positive, and that's why sine is positive in here, which means cosecant would also be positive. Down here, the coordinate is a negative, so the only trig function that would be positive is tangent, and the reciprocal of cotangent, because that y and x would both be negative, making it positive. And then lastly, my x's are positive, which means cosine will be positive, which means secant will be positive. Now you notice I underlined the 4 letters, so I'm going to give you some cheesy sayings to remember this. So the ones I learned growing up was A, let me kind of underline as I go, A, smart, trig, class. I have also heard all students take calc. And then one that my students came up with a couple years ago is all surfers tan constantly. So there you go. You have 3 different mnemonics to help you remember, or you just simply memorize it, or you go back to the coordinates. So those are just some hints to help you remember. So some quick 2 little examples to finish up for today. So it just says determine the quadrant in which theta lies. So it gives you 2 facts. It says tangent of theta is less than 0, but cosine of theta has to be greater than 0. So for these, I recommend drawing a little xy axis, and we're going to do some shading here. So let's just write in here, are all students take calc. All right, so tangent is less than 0. So I know tangent is positive in 1 and 3, because that's where the all and the tangent is, which means tangent's negative in quadrants 2 and 4. Cosine's positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. So notice the place that they overlap is going to be in quadrant 4. So the answer, you would just say, is quadrant 4. That's where the 2 statements are true. Let's try one more. So again, we're going to draw our quadrants. We're going to write our letters in there just to kind of help us. So sine is less than 0. So sine is positive in 1 and 2, which means sine will be negative in 3 and 4. Cosine is less than 0, so that means I'm looking for where cosine is negative. So cosine is positive in 1 and 4, which means cosine is negative in 2 and 3. So notice the place that they overlap would be quadrant 3, and that will be our answer. So go ahead and try the practice problem, and make sure you input it in the video.